All right, that's gonna be in my background.
Turkey burgers, yay!
Are you on already?
Yeah, I'm trying to wait for you to stop making noise.
Oh.
Oh, it's in the background. Turkey burgers.
It's more big than me, so I'm like, oh shit, start yet.
All the back, all you hear in the background is turkey burgers, yay!
I'm gonna put that in the video. Hey everyone, welcome back for another video. My name is Tanya, for those of you that are new here, and I'm a watercolor and acrylic artist. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to do cute little whimsical landscapes, but not using just regular watercolor, using watercolor brush pens. So I hope you enjoy. Okay, to get started, I've got my watercolor paper. I'm using Canson. It's only 117 pound watercolor paper. I am taping it down because the thinner your watercolor paper is, the more chances it has of buckling when the water hits the paper. So I'm definitely taping this down. The reason I'm not using arches today is because for some reason I feel that the watercolor brush pens work a little bit better on Canson. I always try to achieve really pretty textures and blooms, and for some reason I can't get that as much on the Arches watercolor paper with the watercolor brush pens. It just seems like the cheaper paper works a little bit better for what I'm trying to achieve. So that being said, I am using two different brands of watercolor markers. I'm using the Tombow water-based, and I'm using Arteza. These are the only two watercolor markers that I have used as of right now, and I'm really liking them, so I don't really feel like I want to try any other brands at this point because I have a lot of brushes. Until these start running out, I don't think I'm going to replenish them with another brand. I'm just going to keep using these two. And then I've got some watercolor markers, I've got some watercolor brushes, and I'll let you know what size I'm using as I'm going along. All right, so to get started with these cute little landscapes, I'm just going to be taking my watercolor paper, and this was actually a 5x8, and I cut it in half because I like doing my landscapes a little bit smaller right now, especially for the videos. All right, so I'm going to take my pencil, and you can use watercolor pencils if you want as well. Otherwise, you can just erase regular pencil and just make your lines a little bit lighter. So I'm going to get started by making some hills here. All right, let's see. So I've got those. I'm going to be putting in some trees and stuff, but I think I'm going to do that a little bit later. So right now I'm just going to start out with this. All right, so the way you use these is, let's see, I'm just going to pick up, let's see, what color is this? This one is, the Tombow doesn't give you a name, it gives you a number. So this is number 379 if you've got the Tombow. So I'm just going to be starting out with my hill here. And I'm just going to give it a couple little swipes of the marker. I'm going to take my number 10. It's just a generic brush. It's a no-name brush. And I'm going to slowly just mix it together with just water. All I had on my brush was water. Look how pretty that is. I love the lights and darks that you achieve. That's why I put mostly the marker on the top of the hill, and I'm just gonna bleed it down so it's nice and light. Just add a little more water until it comes all the way down. And then you can always give this another coat later if you want to, but right now I'm really liking the way that looks. That is just gorgeous. And it blends so beautifully on this cheaper paper. Nothing wrong with Canson. I love it. I love it for completely different reasons than Arches. Arches paper is just a beautiful, beautiful paper, and I use that mostly for just my regular watercolors. But for some reason, these watercolor markers work so well on the Canson watercolor paper. And the benefit is it's cheaper. All right, so I am gonna skip these two hills because this one is wet and I don't want it to bleed together right now, but I'm gonna choose, let's see here. I'm going to choose this green one, and this is a 346 in the Tombow. So I'm still using Tombow. I'm going to put in this green, and again, I'm just going to outline my hill here. And I didn't even need to lighten up my pencil marks because these colors are just so saturated that it just covers up your pencil beautifully. All right, so I just did the marker on top of that hill, and again, I'm just taking water with my number 10. I'm gonna give it a little swipe each way with the brush. And I'm gonna slowly bleed that down the hill. Now, if you are, depending on what size painting you're doing, if you're following along with me, you can use any size brush you want. I'm just choosing a number 10. And again, I want it a little bit lighter towards the bottom of the hill. And if you wanted it lighter at the top of the hill, you would just start opposite of what I did. You would just start with your watercolor marker at the bottom, and then just with water and a brush, you would bring it up, whereas I brought it down. Now I'm starting to get this bloom here, which is totally fine, but I'm going to just help it along and put a little bit more. It's nice and wet hill. This hill is still very nice and wet. So I'm just gonna help it along a little bit. Now you see these blooms that I'm getting here too. See, I'm getting one there already, even though I tried to fix that, and getting one here. That's the kind of texture that I really, really like on this Canson watercolor paper. It just gives, once this painting is dry, it just gives it so many values of that color. If you like it to be a little bit more mixed and even tone, then I would use 100% cotton paper. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and blow dry this really quick so that we could do the other two hills. Okay, so I went ahead and I dried it, and look at these awesome patterns you're getting in here. All right, let's go ahead and choose. I think I want to stick with my blues here. You know what? We haven't used an Arteza yet. Let's go ahead and use an Arteza. This is called Blueberry. So let's see how this one is. Now, the watercolor markers, the Arteza brand, they're a little bit more of a brush. I'm just going to show you the difference here. I did another video a very long time ago with these, and I showed you this before, but I'm going to show you again in case you didn't see that video. So this one here is more like a marker. This is the Tombow. This is very, very solid. It's not going anywhere. It's just like a marker. Whereas the Arteza watercolor marker, it's like a brush. Very flexible, very, very flexible. So it's just two totally different looks. Or feels when you actually put it on the watercolor paper. It just depends on what you like better. I like them both, so I don't really mind using both. One's a little bit more like a marker and one's a little bit more like a pen. Or I'm sorry, like a brush. All right, so I just laid down again, right on top, taking the same watercolor marker, giving it a couple swipes each way. And I'm going to slowly bleed that down. Now I've got a little too much water on my paper, which is fine. You could just pick it up with your brush, dab it off, and then dab it off on a paper towel. I'm going to bring that down. Now my teal, once you hit it, it reactivates the marker. So I'm hitting a little bit of this teal color that I did down here on the bottom, and it's reactivating it, and it's just pulling it up a little bit. So you just have to kind of be careful with these watercolor markers because it will reactivate once you wet it again. All right, and you can always go over this. After you let this dry, you can always go over it again. And I think I'm going to because it's not as dark as I want. Or you could just go over it with some watercolor. When this is dry, you could go over it with a little bit of watercolor if you want in a similar color. All right, I am going to go on to the sky now. Since this is wet, I don't want to do this hill yet. So I'm going to do this hill, or I'm sorry, the sky. And the sky, let's see, what color is this? Light magenta. Let's go ahead and use a light magenta and see what that looks like. Now this marker is starting to dry out a little bit. See how I'm not getting such juicy strokes? I mean, you can use this to your advantage because it can make nice texture if you want to do it like that, but that's kind of bothering me. So I am going to pull another one. And this is my Tombow. Oh, same color. Pretty much the same color, but in the Tombow. And this is a 685. Some of my markers are running out already. I've used them and they're probably a couple years old already. And I'm going to give it a couple swipes this way. I want the darker part to be by the hills. Now, if you wanted the darker part on top, you would do opposite of what I'm doing right now. And you would put the marker on top rather than the bottom. All right, same brush, number 10, going over my watercolor marker. I'm gonna be careful going around my hills. I bumped into that green a little bit there. That's okay. To me, it doesn't matter when the colors blend. I kind of like it. It doesn't bother me. But if it does bother you, then definitely be careful and don't hit that hill. Look how beautifully this blends. All I'm doing is adding water, and it's just gonna follow me. Let me clean my brush again and show you. All I've got is water on my brush, and it's just following along with me. Look how pretty that is. I'm gonna go around I think we're gonna make this a moon, not a sun. I think we'll make this a nighttime scene. Careful going around that. That is so pretty. If you want to bring a little bit more up, just start from the bottom here again and just keep swiping it up. And you could just keep moving it around your paper. Look how pretty that is. Love it. Now, see how it's a little darker down here? That's where I was trying to do my Arteza, and for some reason, that part there is just not blending well. Maybe because the marker was getting old. I have no idea, but I could still see a little bit of that Arteza pulling in right there, and it's just not blending. So I'm glad I switched over to my Tombow, because that was, maybe it was just old. I don't know. All right, that's pretty. And look at, you could still even keep playing with it. Look, I'm even bringing it up like that. As long as it's wet, well, even if it's dry, you could probably reactivate it, but it probably won't pull it up as much. I'm gonna go around that moon and bring some up. I still want a little bit more coming all the way up. I don't want it to be completely white up there. All right. Now I went into my moon a little bit, so I'm just gonna take a little paper towel, see if I can just get some of that off there before it completely dries. Nope. It really stains your paper. So once you put it down somewhere, that's where it's gonna be. You can lighten it up a little bit, but you can't get rid of it. Definitely stains your paper. All right. I think I'm gonna dry my sky really quick, and then we can go, well, you know what? Maybe I don't even need to. I'm just gonna be really careful and not go up to my sky because these are dry, so I can go ahead and do this hill. I'm gonna choose a different blue. Let's see, what is this one? Oh, the Tombow doesn't have names, like I said before, so this is a 606. Let's see what this is. All right, just doing a little bit because I want that gradation. Now, if you didn't want this gradation, you would just fill in your whole hill if you wanted to. Going over it with just some water. And try and be as careful as I can. Going around my hill and my sky. All right, and I'm gonna bring it down. I'm gonna wash off my brush, get just nice clean water, and pull it down even more. Ooh, look at, I hit my green. It's bringing a little green up there. I don't mind that, I think it's kind of cool. Actually, maybe I'll hit my green all along this edge and see what it does. Look at that. Wow. That's really pretty. Really, really pretty. Oh, and I did hit my sky. I didn't mean to hit my sky, but I did. So I'm gonna try and pull some of that off. With that little piece of paper towel. There you go. All right, now if you wanna let this dry naturally and just let it keep bleeding and doing its thing, that's awesome. For the sake of the video, I'm just gonna go ahead and dry this. So I will be right back. Okay, so I went ahead and dried this, and see how it pulled up a little bit of that green? I was trying to pull up a little of that green. It did. It didn't pull up that much, but it did pull up a little bit. I really think that's kind of cool. I might leave that, but I'm gonna give this another coat, so I'm not sure it's gonna still be showing, but we'll see. All right, I'm gonna try and go over the same colors I just used on these hills, and I'm just gonna deepen it up a little bit. So here's that blue again. This is the Arteza. Okay, going over the top. Going over with just some water. And you don't want that much water on your brush. You just want it to be damp. And I have a little too much water on my brush. You just want it to be damp. That way it just kind of blends a little bit better for you. I'm gonna bring some of that blue down. There. Pretty. All right, let's go ahead and do this green one again. I think that was this one. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna hit that with just some water. There. And then gradually bring it down. And if it's too much bringing down, then just wash off your brush, dry it off so it's just damp, and bring a little bit more water down. There. Really pretty. All right, let's see. I'm gonna blow dry this again because I can't go onto these other two hills until these are dry. Look how deep that made it. It's so pretty. It's still a little wet here, so I'm just gonna be careful with that edge, but I'm gonna go onto these two. All right, so I had done the bluer one down here. And I taped my paper onto this like little portable wood thing, just so I can keep turning my page around, just so I'm not moving my elbow and my shoulder and my wrist in all different ways. It's just easier for me to be able to move my paper around. But if you don't have something like this, you could just tape it to your table or whatever you have. But I do suggest, if you're doing the watercolor Canson paper like I am, that you definitely tape it down, especially if it's not 140 cold press or 140 pounds, because it's just a thinner paper and it will definitely buckle on you. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and do that one. I think I used this color. Now this is almost giving the look of tie-dye. I don't know if you've ever tie-dyed a shirt or something or seen someone do it. This is just the kind of same look that you're getting with tie-dye. And I just love that unpredictable look. All the blooms and feathering, and it's just really pretty. All right, water. And I'm gonna bring it down. There. Really pretty. All right, we're gonna start making some trees and bushes and stuff. Okay, so I just went ahead and dried this one more time. So my background is completely dry. I think I'm gonna go ahead and put in my moon though, because it's not gonna really interfere with anything. I'm just picking up one of my Tombows 985. It's kind of a yellowish, like a golden yellow color. And I'm just gonna go around. And I should have probably lightened up my my moon a little bit with the pencil, but that's fine. No big deal. Actually, you know what? Before I go ahead and do that, let's lighten up. Let's see if some of it lightens up. Yeah, see the part that I didn't hit with my watercolor marker is lightening up, but the part that I went over it with marker already, it's obviously not lightening up. Totally fine. But just if you're following along, lighten up your moon. All right, I'm gonna go in with just water. And it's okay if you go out of the lines a little bit. It kind of gives it a little bit of a different look, almost like an orangey look when you start putting the yellow onto the pink sky. It gives it a little bit of an orange glow, which I think is really pretty. So I think I'm gonna do that on purpose because it happened over here, but I think I'm gonna do that on purpose and give it this orange glow. I'm gonna go outside of my line a little bit onto that pink. I really love the yellow on top of that pink. Looks really cool. And then you could just dab it because moons are obviously very textured. They're all stone and sand and everything else, so it's all textured up there. So All right, I'm gonna leave it like that and let it dry and see if I like it, but we're gonna go on to our trees. Now, I'm gonna start with just my watercolor markers. If you wanna pencil it out first, you definitely can. I'm gonna do, let's pick up a dark green. And I'm just gonna do these cute little, I don't know, little trees in the background. And right now, going on top of that pink, it's looking like really dark. You can't even tell that it's green. So if you wanted to, you could have done your sky around the trees. Then your color would show up a little bit more. I don't really mind this. I wanted these to be really dark anyways. And I'm not filling them all the way in because I do want some lights and darks in there. They're just like little teardrop trees. And you can make them as large or as small as you want. I'm gonna make these just a little bit bigger. Again, I didn't fill it all the way in. And I'm gonna use a smaller brush this time. I think I'm going to a size 2, and I'm just gonna start filling it in. A little too much water on that one, it's okay. And I don't know if you can see this on camera, but it's got some lights and darks in there. And if you wanted more lights, you wouldn't have done as much of the watercolor brush pen as I did. You would have left more of the background showing. But we're gonna go in and put a little bit of bleed-proof white on these later, so I just really wanted that contrast of the dark and the light. So I'm just gonna leave them like that. All right, I'm gonna go in and put in a couple, like maybe some foliage or some leaves or plants down here. And I'm just gonna start with a line. And then you can bring in as many as you want. You can fill up your page if you want. I'm gonna turn this sideways. Again, I'm not filling them in all the way. Let's put another one over here. All right, I'm gonna take actually I'm gonna move down to a 0. I've got some of my Grumbacher brushes here. I'm just gonna move down to a 0 since these are a little bit smaller. I'm gonna blend that in. If you wanna go over your stem, you can. You don't have to go over your stem because it's just a nice clean line. But if you wanna make it look more like watercolor than an actual marker, go ahead and just put some water on it. And I've got my lights and my darks in here because I did not fill those in all the way. And we'll probably be putting a little bleed-proof white on this as well, so I'm not too worried about that. It'll give it some lights and darks with the bleed-proof white for sure. Very pretty. So I used more of the, I think I used the same purple as I did on this hill. All right, I'm gonna just hit these stems just a little bit, just to kind of soften it up a little bit. But again, you don't have to. Super pretty. All right, I'm gonna take a darker color. This is like a dark gray. I'm just gonna give these some trunks. All right, and then I think I might bring in a little of this color just towards the bottom. I like to give a little bit to push that darkness a little bit more. Go over with some water, just bleed it up a little bit. And if you want, you can drag your brush through it. If it's a little too dark, you drag your brush through it while it's still damp, and pick up some of it and dab it off on your paper towel. Now, like I said before, it's not gonna lift it up all the way, just like watercolor. It stains your paper. You're never gonna get the white of the paper back, but you can lighten it a little bit. All right, I think I want a nice big tree in this corner. So let's go ahead and make that one maybe a dark, dark blue. Yeah, I think it's the color of this hill. All right, so I'm going to, actually, you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the background of it first, and I want a lighter blue. Let's see how this looks. Now it's making it look more purple because obviously I'm doing it on the pink paper. And I'm just gonna put it in more towards the top so I can bleed it to the bottom. You can make your tree as big as you want. I'm gonna give it a little bit of water. It's gonna blend that out beautifully. Now, if you want to make that lighter, I've got a little bit of white gouache on my palette over here. I'm gonna take a little white gouache and just drop that in. You can use ink, you can use white watercolor, you can use gouache. And it just blends it in a little bit. And you know what? I'm gonna bring in a little bit of my gouache and just hit these trees a little bit on this side so it looks like the moon is reflecting on this side, hitting the trees on the left. You always want to remember where your light source is from and follow along with that. So if my light source was coming from over here, then the light would be hitting the trees this way. But my light is over here. All right, I'm gonna let those dry and I'm gonna give it another little coat. All right, let's go ahead and put in, let's see, let's do a fence. Let's do a cute little fence. I'm just gonna take my black and I'm gonna pop in just a little fence going down this hill. And let me turn this so I can get a good angle. Like that. And then I'm gonna have some watercolor shadows coming this way. I don't want them too big. I wanna kind of follow along with the curve of the hill. And I'll pop in those little lines. Now I'm trying not to put it on as heavy, so I wasn't holding the watercolor brush pen as much. I was kind of just using the very little tip of it. So I just wanted to make that thin. All right, I'm gonna take my size 1 again and put a little water on that. It'll bleed it. If you don't wanna do this part and you just like the crispness of the marker, then just leave the crispness of the marker. You don't have to go over it with water. But I'm going to. And I think I'm not gonna do it to the shadow. I think I want the shadow to be nice and thin, so I don't wanna go down there. All right, I think I'm gonna put, okay, I have to put the trunk in on this tree, but I think I want another fence coming this way, but I wanna do that one maybe in the bleed proof white. So I'm gonna open my bleed proof white right now. I just bought this yesterday. Mix it up a little bit. So when I got it, it was nice and creamy, and I just took the back of my marker or watercolor brush and I'm just stirring it up. Who knows how long this had been sitting on the shelves? Could have been sitting there 6 months, who knows? So you just want to stir it up a little bit. All right. All right, I'm gonna dry that off. All right, so let's see, what size do I wanna go for? I think I'm gonna go for my liner. It's just my, it's just a 10, it's a very, very small, it's a 10-0. So it's very, very small. Dip it in my white. And first I'm going, are these dry? Yeah, I think they're dry. I'm gonna give them just a little bit of a highlight. I'm barely pushing down. I just wanna do a little highlight on the fence, just so you see it pop off that background a little bit. That makes a big difference. Okay, look at that. Now it's just popping right off. Let's see if this is dry yet. Nope, not yet. We're gonna wait. I'm gonna go ahead and put some highlights on these down here. These little plants. Let's see. I'm just gonna give them a little bit of like a highlight on one side of the leaf. Just pops it off the page a little bit more. And then I think I'm also going to bring in some different kinds of flowers. So let's, maybe we'll just do like these little, I don't know, like little Queen Anne's lace or something. They've just got, they've got like little stems and then just like some dots up on top. And then I'm gonna bring that down. I'll do another one over here. Oop, I got a fuzz. You could do little petaled flowers. You could do just blades of grass. It doesn't really matter, whatever you like. I just needed some kind of light color going down here. And if you've watched my videos before, you know I love to push my white, my lights and my darks. For some reason, the lights and the darks just, to me, really make a painting pop. Let's do another one here. Now, I don't know if you can see, but I reactivated by putting the bleed proof white on. I reactivated that green hill, and now it's making my stem a little green. I don't mind it, but you just have to know that once you reactivate this watercolor marker, it's going to pretty much, look at, now some of these are, even these here that are trying to dry are starting to turn green as well. So if you want to, you could wait till this dries and then just give it another coat of white. And especially where the darker green is, it's definitely picking up that green. It's reactivating it. But down here where I left the lighter green, it's not really reactivating it that much. And pull that down. All right, let me see. Yeah, that's dry. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take my bleed proof white and I'm gonna make a trunk. All right, I'm gonna turn my page upside down. And I'm gonna make all the little branches. Now, if this is easier for you to just leave your paper the correct way, you know, don't go for it. You do not have to turn it upside down like me. For some reason, I just like to turn it upside down. I like to start from the trunk and just kind of bleed it off and feather it up to a little point. For some reason, when I go the other way, I don't achieve that. So I just want to go and turn my painting upside down. There, that's pretty. Really, really pretty. All right, I think I am going to add some clouds to this really pretty sky. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my my gouache. You could take your bleed proof white as well, but I'm gonna take my gouache. And I'm gonna take a Deerfoot stippler brush, and I'm gonna dip this into my white gouache. And I'm just gonna pop in, and I'm just dabbing on some clouds. And it shows up better where you have the dark watercolor marker. Obviously, it shows up better down there. Do some on this side. Look how pretty that is. Okay, so see how pretty that is? And all I did was I took my stippler brush and I put it in white gouache, and it just blended the white gouache with the watercolor marker really, really pretty. I think I'm going to add some lines on this hill here. So where's that marker? I think this is the one that I used. And I'm gonna put in lines. And you can get fancy with these. You could put in swirls, dots, grass, whatever. All right, so you can leave it like that with just the marker, or you can go over it with your brush, which I'm going to. Take a little water, and I'm just gonna put it over those, and I'm gonna go outside of it a little bit, just so it kind of bleeds a little bit out. All right, so here's another thing I'm gonna do. I love texture. I've already said that like 3 or 4 times in this video. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a clean brush with just water, and I'm gonna lay in just some water. I'm gonna go on both the lines I just made and the other part. Look at how pretty that is. So it's lifting up some of that and it's making some blooms. I love to give texture to these little paintings. That to me is awesome. I am going to, actually, you know what? I'm just gonna take some regular watercolor. Let's take, I think this is my ultramarine blue. And I'm just gonna pop in, go around these flowers a little bit. I just wanna deepen up this hill with some texture. Wash off my brush and then just dab on some water. I just want to give a little texture to this hill as well. And it would have made more sense doing this first and then putting the flower, but I didn't know I was going to do this. So there you go. That's really pretty. Now I kind of lost, well, I'm gonna see when it dries if I really lost the shadow of my fence. I don't know if I've lost that yet. So I'm gonna wait to see if this dries. But look how pretty that is. I just love that. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of my bleed proof white on my trees back here as well. I'm just gonna pop in just a little bit, some little texture. Wash off my brush so I just have water on it, and go over it so it just kind of bleeds it together. There, that really popped it. I'm gonna do the same thing with the others. A little bit of water. If you want to bring it down on the trunk a little bit, just to highlight the trunk a little bit so it stands out. Pretty. All right, let's see. I think I'm going to go ahead and put in a couple little bushes going down this hill. So I'm just going to use my bleed proof white, and I'm going to take my number 2 brush, and I'm just, let's see if this is wet. Yeah, it's still a little wet, so it might bleed a little bit, but that's all right. I'm gonna put in these like little bushes going down this hill. Going like this. I'm just going in like little circular motions. Just going all the way down that hill. Okay, so see how this purple hill wasn't exactly dry? It's starting to, the bushes are starting to pick up that purple color, and then even up here, they're starting to pick up that green color. Now, if you like that, just leave it alone. If you don't like it, you can let it dry and then go over it again. I'm gonna put in a little bit more white in my moon here. Give it a little bit more texture. Especially around where I have that pencil line that I couldn't erase. I'm just gonna go over that a little bit. Just to camouflage it a little bit. There. All right. Now, if you want, what you could do is you can give this stars. You can use, if you have a Posca marker, a white one, or you can use your bleed proof white. You can use your gouache. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take actually a little bit of my bleed proof white, and I'm going to put it on my palette. And I'm going to hold this up. So I put a little bit of my bleed proof white right there, and I'm just going to get this nice and wet with all this water, almost to like a milk consistency. And then, let's see, where's my fan brush? I'm gonna take my fan brush and I'm just gonna put it in there like that. So now I've got all that watered down white, bleed proof white on my fan brush. And then I'm just going to sprinkle it on. Let me take another piece of paper because I don't really wanna get it stars on my hills here. And then just tap it. And you could do as many or as little as you want. And it shows up really, really nicely down where you put the darker sky. It shows up really, really nicely there. All right. Really pretty. And if some of it got on your trees, you can always just dab it off while it's still wet. It will pull off just a little bit. All right. I think that's all I want. Oh, you know what? Some of my fence did disappear here. So I'm going to pop that back in with that marker. There. And I'm also going to put in some shadows of these trees too. Let's see, I think I used this one up here. So you can use like a Payne's gray, or you could just use a deeper value of the color. Like in this case, it would be green for me, or whatever color your hill is. You would just use a deeper value of that color. There. And you can leave it like that, or again, you can go over it with water. And I'm gonna go over it with some water just to blend it out a little bit. And if you want, you can go ahead and texture up this hill too. Kind of how we textured up that hill right there. Oh, and I want to give these a shadow as well. So let me take that purple again. And if the purple doesn't really show up because it's a really saturated color, you can always use a Payne's gray or a black, or even add some ultramarine blue to it. It gives it a little shadow. I'm just going to go over that with a little bit of water. Just like that. And I think I'm going to deepen up some of this hill down here. Just going to pop in a little bit of my purple, just regular watercolor. You could put regular watercolor right over this. And that's what I'm going to do. Wow, look how pretty that is. All right. If you want to add other things, you definitely can, but I think I'm going to leave this painting just like this. And let's go ahead and lift up the tape, see what it looks like. Just be careful. When you're pulling tape, here's a little trick. When you're pulling tape, you don't want to pull towards your painting because if it does rip some of your paper, it will rip right across your painting. So you always want to pull the tape in the opposite direction. Just in case it starts ripping your paper, it will not rip your painting. So here, I'm pulling it up, but I'm pulling away from my paper. Look how pretty that is. I might go ahead and add a couple more little details down in this purple hill, but for right now, I think I'm just gonna leave it like that. Thanks so much for watching the video. I hope you liked it and learned a little something. And if you did like it, please give me a thumbs up and you can make a comment in the comment section. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you want more videos like this one. Have a great day. Bye.